Hi everybody, part 3, London Olympic Games 2012, and part 3 of the edit of my diaries of that period. 9th of June 2012. Back to London and at a big script meeting for the opening ceremony with Danny and his team and another 20 production people in one of the big conference rooms at Three Mills. We sit around a large four-sided arrangement of tables with LCD screens used to show slides, drawings and plans. The meeting goes well. We do a cue to cue of the show with every department bringing up their points in some real detail. If so-and-so needs a piece of scenery over here, how does that impact the entrance of a group of actors over there? How do we draw attention to the north end of the stadium to distract from the entry of a prop at the south end? And how can you rig a 40-foot high inflatable house in 3 minutes? For every problem there's a solution, but then every solution throws up yet another challenge. My sense is that the show has the potential to be something really good, extraordinary even, but it's clearly not there yet, and the journey ahead looks so tortuous and so complicated that I wonder whether we'll ever reach our destination by July the 27th. Each of the scenes described in the script and pitched so enthusiastically by Danny at our meeting is visually spectacular and emotionally engaging. And he gives us the impression that it's all part of a clear and considered master plan. But can we actually pull it off, I wonder? Hamish, like me, a veteran of many of these large-scale spectacles, all of which begin with enormous ambition and confidence but don't necessarily end that way, leans over to me with a quiet smile. All very well till the wheels come off the bus, he says dryly. So I was really concerned whether this thing was going to work, but there was this constant enthusiasm for the potential of it and this real fear as to whether we could pull it off. Home exhausted after a long week. Dinner at the Dysons with Eric and Tanya Idle. Eric doesn't drink. I'm in training, he tells us proudly. I'm an Olympian, you see. 6th of June 2012. Presentation in Soho at the studio where all the video content for the pixels and the seat has been created. Of course, we're looking at it all on a small screen and not on what will eventually be the largest video screen ever, but instinctively it feels too small to me and somehow not grand enough. Producer Catherine is there and agrees, but it's a delicate call because this is not strictly my domain. Just hope that it reads better on the pixels when we test them next week for the first time. 12th of June. I haven't been in the stadium for some time now, and when I walk in at midday, I'm gasped at amazement at what confronts me. There are hundreds of crew arrayed around the space, and the place is full of energy and endeavour. This sense of purpose is palpable, stretching from high on the roof where the riggers hang from harnesses, manoeuvring stacks of speakers up into the air, to the catacombs that run underneath the enormous stage where parts of the Olympic cauldron are being shunted along railroad tracks towards the centre of the field. The lighting system is well underway now, with perhaps half the lights rigged, and already the lines of black fixtures curving around the stadium at balcony level look hugely impressive. There's a lot of lights. It's a week since we saw the video content at the studio, and tonight we'll see it on a section of the real pixels in the stadium. As soon as it's dark, we run it up for the first time, and even though only a quarter of the system is installed at the moment, it looks spectacular, with the revised content looking so much stronger at this scale. The effect, with the whole stadium full of light and energy, will be just extraordinary. But the unexpected bonus of all this, and what is suddenly very apparent to Adam and I, is that when the pixels aren't being used for specific video content, which we think is less than half the time, then we will have them available to us, what is in effect an additional 70,000 lights. We experiment in the evening when the rest of the video crew have left by getting the Pixel Pack programmer to match colours and effects to those cues already set in our own lighting boards. It's extraordinary as the two lighting elements tie together immediately to become one giant unified system. It's a very telling moment. What's really important about that is if any of you know, doing shows in the round is very difficult because there is no background. And consequently, a lot of the setting and the shots can look the same. But we had a living backdrop to wherever we chose, wherever the cameras were positioned, to have a texture or a color or an effect. It was a big moment for us discovering that. June the 22nd. My day starts well. Up early to read, breakfast in the King's Road, successful shopping for groceries for the boat and so on. And then I catch a cab to Stratford. I have a wonderful cabbie straight out of Central Casting. Lord love ya, Governor, them Olympics. I mean, I'm sorry, but who really wants to watch the first round of the fencing, eh? Now, if it were the World Cup, Gov, well, that place would be jammed, wouldn't it? And, by the way, who's got a ticket then? No one I know. Then as we drive up the Mile End Road and past the big local college on the left, he starts again. See that school on the left, Gov? My daughter worked there for 6 months as a receptionist. Now, she's as thick as they come as my daughter. But even she said to me, Dad, what are they like in there? They don't know a fucking thing. At rehearsals this evening, we programme over the action with the stadium sodium lights still on, and amazingly can see that all our lights still registering. So I'm feeling pretty confident that we have a workable system when I join the creative team for our nightly production meeting after the run, all of us sitting around a big table overlooking the field of play. Suddenly the stadium lights go out. The first time they've done so since we've completed our setup. Everyone in the room notices the change in light level and they all swivel around to have a look through the large windows behind us. The place dramatically lit up. Danny turns to me with a huge smile on his face, thumbs up, but I'm freaking out. The whole lighting system is on and running in white. In other words, it's at its fullest intensity that it can produce. But it's too dark. The meeting continues with Danny turning around and nodding positively every time he sees another amazing lighting effect. But I'm furiously texting Tim and Andy upstairs. Are we okay? Is it too dark? How does it feel outside? It's not the colours or effects that concern me. It's the overall level when we're trying to light the entrance of the athletes. Back in my control room, I asked Tim and Andy to put every single light on in white and focus them on the route the athletes will take for their entrance. It looks just about okay, but it's nothing like the clean, bright daylight look that I remember so well from Athens and Beijing. We can't let England be a murky comparison to those other great spectacles. Miserable cab ride home to the boat as I question whether we've made a terrible mistake. My team always laugh because the first thing I say when we're setting up for a new show, if I'm not there, if I speak to one of them on the phone, I always say, are there enough lights? Maybe a comeback to what you're about to hear. But the thing is, on a big show like that, if you have enough lights, then you have the potential to do anything you want. Of course, there's a lot of work, a lot of programming, a lot of decisions to be made, but fundamentally you have to have the tools there. And that's what I saw immediately. I looked out of the window that day. I thought it's just not enough lights to be bright enough to do everything we need. 23rd of June. And we're just over a month out. Wake up early with the same worry. Shit, disaster before we've even started. There's still a month to fix the problem, but it's a huge challenge. To change the system radically at this late stage is an enormous task and will be cripplingly expensive. In for a crisis meeting with Adam and the team, who go some way towards making me feel a bit more confident in the situation. But they concur that we are underlit and we start to thrash out exactly what is possible at this late stage to fix the problem. Where can we add lights in the stadium to increase levels? Where do they need to go? How easy will it be to rig them? Are the lights indeed available? And how much will all this cost? On a normal one-off show, it would be no big deal to make a call to the lighting company. They'd send a truck down with whatever we needed and probably at no extra cost. But on this project, it's 150 extra lights needed for 3 months, each costing over £300 a week to rent. Bearing in mind that we are already over budget and have been told that the money well is empty, it's difficult to see a way out of this. 25th of June. We finally get the figures back for the extra lighting and I take them to production director Piers Shepherd. We need another £150,000, I tell him firmly. He smiles wryly and replies, never going to happen, Patrick. My heart sinks. He explains that every department is up against it. There's simply no money left in the pot. He and our producer, Catherine Ugru, are searching for any contingency and have to decide if my request is something that's absolutely essential and will actually affect the show, or if they can get away without it. We go back and cut and slash and burn, managing to reduce the figure we need to £80,000. I call Mickey Kerberschliff from PRG in Los Angeles and ask him if they will swallow half the cost of the extra lighting. He doesn't hesitate. All in the trenches together, ready to go over the top for the national good. And this is reiterated when I get a last text from him late in the evening when I get back to the boat. Don't worry, I'm sure we can make this work. 26th of June, wake up early with a problem weighing heavily on my mind. Of course it was. Write to Mickey again saying how thrilled I am that he's supporting us with the 40k contribution. I'm very confident we'll find the other half of the money. Lying furiously. Al Gurdon is in today for the first time. And he's an important addition to our team. He's a successful lighting designer in his own right. But his real expertise is in making the lighting work on television, particularly on a large scale. It's opportune that he should arrive today when all our fears about the lighting levels have come to a head. And as I see him come into the stadium and start looking up at the lighting system with Adam, looking up at the rig and then down at his light meter, I'm nervous as to his reaction. Are we really underlit, I wonder? After 10 minutes, Al comes up to the control room, very friendly and laid back, and reports that he thinks we're okay on broadcast levels, but only just. Then, at the production meeting after the rehearsal, Piers comes over and says, "Have you thanked Catherine yet? Perhaps she's got the money already. How amazing would that be?" At the end of the meeting, she comes over and tells me she's got the cash, but there is absolutely no more left, and she makes me promise that A, I won't ask for any more, and B, I don't tell anyone else I've got it, as every department has a budget crisis and is asking for the same thing. I call up Adam on the radio, tell him we've got our extra lights. He's thrilled and goes on to tell me that the metering he and Al Gurdon are doing is much more positive than they originally thought, and with the new lights on order, we'll have enough to illuminate the athletes' parade perfectly. It's such a roller coaster. High in the air one day, what a triumph this will be, and then diving down into a trough of despair the next, a disaster in the making. What one should do, of course, is to find a nicely balanced place halfway between the two, but there never seems to be any middle ground. However, all in all, today was a good day. 27th of June, absolutely miserable first night of programming. Some of the house lights have been left on, splodgy focus, no smoke to see the beams, empty and messy stage to work on, etc. That was a really key thing for us, is that the stadium was just like a big mess. If you're doing a show and you have a stage being constructed, there's always stuff going on, but you have a pretty good sense of what you're going to have. For us, it was just like trucks, and we didn't even have a sense of what the M25, we used to call it, was the track around the stage, because there was always stuff on it and it was covered with... It was a big deal for us. But as we start to program, nothing interesting to program onto. I watched the run-through with the full creative team in the control room, one level down from our lighting control box, high up in the top of the seats. And although I can see a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel, basically the lighting for the piece looks unfocused and a big mess. I go down to the production meeting afterwards with a feeling of concern. If Danny judges this on appearance, he has every right to question what we're doing, even though I know it's a process which we'll be able to rectify. The problem is that if the director or the producer freaks out, you suddenly find yourself starting to make your judgment calls based on what you think someone else might be thinking, and it sets up all sorts of insecurities and second guessing. Tonight I needn't have worried, as everyone says how great they thought it looked and didn't focus on the mistakes. Adam and the others try to placate me and assure me that everything comes together, it will be fine, but I'm not convinced as I drive home at 3 a.m. through a dreary and alien East London. 28th of June 2012. Up early after only a few hours sleep, and straight back in again for our weekly production meeting. Driving up the Mall on my scooter, I pull up next to a giant Rolls-Royce limousine at the traffic lights, with huge windows just short of Admiralty Arch. I look across, and there is the Queen of England, calmly doing her lipstick. We're all in showbiz today, I think. That's today's offering. I mean, it's very interesting because the team is so important. And, you know, I was nervous, it was my responsibility to produce the show, but everyone was kind of in it together. And what's interesting in these situations is that as long as there's someone who's up, you're fine. The drag is everybody's down, but with a team, there's always somebody who's positive, somebody who's having a good day, somebody who's having a bad day, and it is part of the deal. The deal is that you help each other during this process. Okay, talk to you tomorrow, I hope.